Today is Thursday, April 30th, 2015, and this rant will be on what really happened in Baltimore. So let's go back to Sunday night. On Sunday night, there were a number of demonstrators demonstrating peacefully, heading from West Baltimore down towards the Inner Harbor. Very peaceful, a nominal amount of police force that was there, and they came down near to the Inner Harbor right around the time that the oil game was around getting out. At that point in time, they encountered, let's just say, a number of white drunks who started to throw out a lot of racial slurs, and some violence ensued, some pushback ensued. And of course, that should have been a sign to the police force itself that the next day there was the funeral for Mr. Gray, and that they should be prepared for things. Even though this was an unexpected thing, it didn't get too far out of hand at all. There was some incitement by the whites, who were rebel rousers, let's just say, took advantage of the situation of them having too much to drink. And saw the black demonstrators and used this as an opportunity, because cops were around, to play bad, to think that they were superior, etc. So come to Monday, and we really need to find out what the police were thinking. And I'm not going to blame this on the mayor, because they seem to want to be placed a lot of blame on the mayor. She seems to be a much more visual figure than the chief of police, but the chief of police should have obviously gotten what he felt he needed and put it, and it should have worked out that way. So I don't really think it's the mayor. But besides that, so Mr. Gray has his funeral, and right around the time that he has his funeral, the cops put out a statement indicating quite clearly that there had been the Crips and the Bloods and a group called the Black Guerrilla Group are going, and they want to take out police officers. So this was actually put out by the Baltimore Police Department during Mr. Gray's funeral, or right after Mr. Gray's funeral. And for some reason, they got together right around Damon Mall. At the same time, the schools were letting out. Now, what they did, the police did, is they prevented the students from getting on the buses, the public buses. They were not public school buses, they were just regular transit buses, because Baltimore doesn't have the money for school buses. So all of a sudden, all these high school kids have nowhere to go. They can't, and they're moving a little bit further down towards the neighborhood that Mr. Gray had lived in. And as they get into that neighborhood, obviously more and more people are moving in with the group. Obviously some rocks were thrown and things like that. One question I have right now: why didn't they just put the school on lockdown, let down 100 at a time, 10 at a time, take them to the buses, let them go home? Why couldn't have that happened? I don't know, but it didn't happen. And of course, a lot of the riots, ensued from there. And I saw a number of the pictures of it. And of course, when you have teenagers, high school kids, they come outside. Oh, there was another thing that went on, is that there was some social media, a lot on social media, in reference to that might be a purge. And a purge referenced the 2013 movie that for 12 hours you could do anything you wanted, you never get convicted of it. You could do any type of crime that you want, and nothing would happen to you. Now, where that came from, I don't know. And of course, that should be investigated. Why the police felt that they needed to put out a statement on police letterhead indicating that the Crips and the Black Guerrilla Group and the Bloods had decided to put their differences aside, to come together and to take out the police. Now, of course, the Crips and the Bloods say, no, we just said we'd come together in honor of Mr. Gray and not do anything. But, so the police put that out. So all of this is happening all at once. And you have all of these high school kids who are running around having absolutely no idea why they can't get on buses, and there's cops all over the place, and they're moving away. Some of them are throwing rocks, obviously, and things actually got way, way out of hand. But how did it have to come to that? Why did they pick Mondawmin Mall? Why did they Why did they come out in full riot gear and force people not to get buses? No one knowing why they couldn't get on the bus. No one knowing why the cops were even there. Many of them, because maybe it was on a lot of social media. That doesn't mean that all these kids knew exactly what was going on. So I think that was handled very, very poorly. And then the other thing, I saw a number of videos of, let's say, one person or two person getting pulled by the cops back so that they can be handcuffed, etc. And all the other kids are screaming, "What'd you do? What'd he do? What'd he do? Well, why are you taking him away? Why are you arresting him? Taking pictures and all that other." I mean, that's very agitating. That's very disconcerting. That's for a teenager, that really riles you up. So as far as I could see, there was a tremendous amount of the police heavy-handedness going into this whole thing, and it goes into a much larger narrative of why black people don't trust police. Now, one of the things that has been recently written is that you take the 75 major cities in the United States, Baltimore being maybe in the top 10, the lower 10, maybe in the top 20, I don't know, 660,000 people. And just like any other major city, only 25%, someone was watching me, only 25% of the white police officers in 75 of the major cities in the United States actually live in the city. They live in the suburbs or the outer suburbs. So you have white cops who don't, and of course, if you go back into history, that after Brown versus Board of Education, the suburbs in many of these cities were really only for white people, because they had in the South they had what they call sundown towns, where black people couldn't even be in certain parts of the town after nightfall. I read an article where a man, he was born in 57, then moved to near Wake Forest University, something like that, so his father could work on his doctorate. And what happened, the maid had to stay late one night. The guy's mother just says, "Well, just call your husband, he'll come and pick you up," because they had moved there from Michigan or something. The black lady's going, no, my husband cannot come here to pick me up. He's not allowed in this part of town. So they had sundown towns, where just cannot be in certain parts overnight. They had racial zonings. They had restrictive covenants. They had redlining. Redlining basically meant if there was anything past this red line that you couldn't get a loan to buy a house anywhere. So they had all of these types of things that made the white suburbs white and kept them white. And a lot of these police officers who are working in the inner cities grew up in these white suburbs. And their parents grew up in these white suburbs. And, of course they hear, I grew up outside a major metropolitan area, and yes, the grade school I went to was lily white. I think the classes the grade that I was in, through the 8 years that I was there, Catholic school of course, maybe 5-7 kids were of color in the whole 8 years that I was there. Some of them went through the whole 8 years, some only for a year or two. That's tops. All right, so there were a lot of reasons that kept blacks out of living in the suburbs up until the early 1960s, and that stuff was still going on in the 1970s because you just couldn't get rid of it right away. So these cops come in under the impression that these people, and they use the terms from what they learned from their parents, etc., that they're savages, that they're animals. And so and of course, with this type of thing, you have, I don't want to use the term black enclaves, but let's just say that they're predominantly black areas. And of course, no one wants to, even when I was growing up, you don't want to go there, you don't want to go there, you don't want to go there, because, you might get murdered, you're going to get looted, etc. A couple of years ago, I was working on a construction project, and I was in the inner city in the public housing area. And I never had any problem. Of course, I was there only during the day. But the perception is that you're going to get robbed, you're going to get looted, you're taking your life into your own hands if you live there, because they're all savages, they're all animals and all that other stuff. And these white cops take this mentality in there. And of course, the police force, in terms of law and order, if someone's smoking dope, they're just going to bust them and and beat the shit out of them in a black area, but if you catch a couple kids smoking dope in a white area, you might call their parents. They're going to get a PBJ anyway. So you have all of this stuff that's going on, and you wonder why there's such a mistrust of black people, with white police officers, of police officers in general, could have this actually been prevented? And it appears to me that it really, really could have been prevented. Now, I just want to mention briefly and quickly is, there's this whole thing about Baltimore. There's just a lot of crap that's going out there that we have that is not even remotely close to being true, that is being put out by right-wing world or getting caught up in right-wing world. That Gray jumped off a 3-story building, that he ran into a wall, that the settlement that he got because of lead paint when he was younger was really because he had a back injury and he just re-injured his back. The Washington Post ad put out a big bogus thing in reference to him hitting himself against the wall while he was in the police van, meeting Mr. Gray, when there was nothing in the autopsy that indicated that he had done that, and whether or not that could have remotely come close to him actually severing his spine is exceptionally questionable. There was the statement about whether the mayor had said, "Oh, we should just let them loot for a little bit." Where did that come from? Supposedly that came from a sheriff in Wicomico County who overheard the mayor saying that maybe they should let the rioters run free, or whatever it was that she said. I can't recall offhand. And I had to look up where Wicomico County is, and so Baltimore's here, and then Wicomico County is what they call the Eastern Shore, so you have to go down from Baltimore to Annapolis, go across the Bay Bridge, somewhere over there in the Eastern Shore. I don't even know if a sheriff from Wicomico County, even if they're there in Baltimore, would be in a part of a discussion with the chief of police of Baltimore and the mayor. So there's all this bogus stuff that's going out there, and let's just use this as a calling card that we need to work with our sisters and brothers in the inner city. We need to increase education. We need to tear down those 16,000 empty buildings in Baltimore. We need to build new things. We need to have better educational system. We need to have after-school programs, school lunch programs, mentoring programs, and jobs programs. And that has to be not only for school-age kids, but for kids that are just out of school too. This is how we can do this. It's not going to happen overnight. It may not happen in my lifetime, but we need to get it started, and we need to get it started now.